Hello and welcome to the UoK podcast. Just a quick disclaimer, we are not professionals and this podcast is just our opinions based on our own experiences. I'm Rich.
I'm Abi.
I'm Ant.
And I'm Hannah.
So this is our very first podcast, so why don't we go around and just introduce ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
My name is Rich, I'm 23 years old and I live in Bradford, West Yorkshire. I work as an access worker at college, basically sort of a special needs support worker, and I'm currently completing my certificate in education so I can become a teacher. I started Rooster Teeth with Red vs. Blue when I was doing my GCSEs, which feels like a long time ago now. And then my friends introduced me to the very first Let's Play Minecraft, and the rest is history.
I'm Abi. I'm from Chesterfield in Derbyshire. I work at a school for special needs and mental health as a teaching assistant. I'm also an animal handler for an exotic animals company. I first got into Rooster Teeth in between 2011 and 2012 when Achievement Hunters started making the Skyrim videos with Jeff and Gavin. And I somehow just stumbled into the videos while I was searching around one day. Thought they were really cool, and yeah, I've never looked back since.
Okay, I'm Ant. I live in South Devon. I work at an international language school and I used to be in the British Army. I got into Rooster Teeth through RVB back pre-YouTube and then kind of came back into the fold later on through Achievement Hunter, the RT podcast and Funhouse.
Okay, I'm Hannah. I'm based in the northwest of England, sort of Cheshire Merseyside area, and I'm 23. I've worked for the ambulance service for about 3 years. Been a member of St John Ambulance for nearly 15 years. So that gives me a background in first aid and mental health. I'm currently completing my master's in anthropology, which is human evolution. I found Rooster Teeth when I was about 17 through Minecraft Let's Plays, and they really helped me during some of my worst mental health periods. Now I'm a huge Rooster Teeth fan and I love all the community has involved too.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've this is the very first time we've all talked to each other. About 20 minutes ago, we all met for the first time. So I think we're going to play a little icebreaker game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to do 2 truths and 1 lie, which was a bit of a debate between us whether it was 2 truths or 2 lies.
Yeah, that was
truths,
quite the debate.
2
Yeah,
truths, 1 lie.
I thought it was 2 truths, 1 lie, then I reread the thing and it was 2 lies. I was like, wait, what are we doing? But no, 2 truths, 1 lie.
Well, I think we settled on 2 truths and a lie because then we'd all get to know each other a bit more and like put a bit more out there for the community.
Yeah.
So if I go first, I'm going to tell you 2 things that are true and 1 thing that's a lie, and then you guys can work it out and find out loads about me. Okay, so thing number 1, I have 0 sense of smell. Fact number 2, I was once an extra on Waterloo Road TV show. And fact number 3, I once tap danced on a piano.
Oh
Those
my
are my
god,
facts.
I feel really bad for that piano if that's the truth.
Guys, I mean, that's for you to decide, isn't it?
I'm just imagining it in my head now. I hope it's one of those like floor pianos rather than an actual piano, because that's floor piano sounds a bit safer.
Well,
Yeah.
What,
So
what,
I
you
didn't
couldn't
even
smell,
think about
could you
that.
not-
I went.
what was that? If I can't smell, can I not taste? Oh, well, I feel like we're now in Would I Lie to You? Yes,
Oh,
Rob, actually.
Okay, my guess. What was the second one?
That I was an extra in Waterloo Road.
I think that that's a lie.
I'm going to go with the smell one, because that's clearly a John Risinger reference.
Oh, it
Ooh,
could be, but and then
I'll go
I
with the
I know
focusing on
quite a
the
few
piano
people who
video.
can't smell.
So you're all gone for 1 each. So you've gone for 1 different 1 each.
Yeah, I've gone for number 3 as the lie.
So the lie was that I was an extra in Waterloo Road. That is not true.
Oh.
I think
Oh.
I got that one.
You did get that one. So
You did, Abby, yeah.
I was asked to audition for a role in Waterloo Road, but my mum said no. My mum
Oh,
said no. But I
Could have
can't
been like-
smell.
Oh, she held back your stardom.
She held back. I could have been the next famous person who was on Waterloo Road.
Yeah.
That could have been me. But yeah, but I can't smell, and I have the same thing that John Risinger's got. So
Ah, cool.
shared kinship with that fella, but he's got a better facial hair than I have. So We don't talk about him. And I did tap dance on a piano once because I was on stage, but it was not a real piano. It was it had some of the insides taken out, presumably because, like you said, poor piano.
Yeah, I know. I've got a piano, and I'd be really sad if somebody stood on it. My dog, though, sometimes he does it, especially if I'm on the phone to someone like really important who's like sorting out my bills or whatever, and he'll just go and he'll step on the piano, like on the keys, and just make like a horrific sound. And then I have to explain to the person on the other end of the phone that my dog's trying to play piano. So my two truths and a lie are, number one, I thought that Skip's crisps dissolved until I was about 13 years old. Number two is that I had 23 rabbits at once. And number three is I used to own an alpaca.
Oh,
What was the alpaca called?
good question.
Barney.
Can you explain the skips one a bit more? Because skips do dissolve in your mouth.
Yes, true.
Yeah, I didn't really explain that. So I used to think that Skip's crisps actually just dissolved as you open the packet. So if you left them for too long, you'd go back to an empty packet.
You get called away. There's a phone call. You come back. You're like, oh, not again.
Yeah. You know, that might be the truth.
That's the lie.
Even the
Pardon?
rabbit.
I think
The rabbit one.
Yeah, why not?
I think the rabbit one as well, because no one would make that skip story up. And you came back with an alpaca name quite quickly, so I'm going to go for rabbits as well.
Right, rabbit.
I don't know a lot about you, obviously, but one of the things I do know about you is that you've got a lot of animals. So I could buy there being 23 rabbits. And like you said, no one would lie about skips, because that's a bit of a... I don't think you had an alpaca. I'm just going to go with that one to be. That's what I think.
Yeah, so the alpaca one is actually the lie.
Oh, yes.
But we do have alpacas at the farm where I keep the horse. But none of them are called Barney. That was just completely fabricated. But yeah, the skips one, when I was about 4 or 5, I'd been eating a packet of skips, and I went for a nap, as kids do. I woke up and there were no skips left in the packet, so I just assumed that they'd just dissolved into thin air. It only turns out that my mum had actually come in and eaten the packet.
I was literally about to say, who ate your skips? So.
Yeah. But when I asked, I'm pretty sure I asked her about them, and she told me that they just weren't there anymore. So, yeah, until I was about 13 years old, I really did think skips actually just did dissolve.
Tragic. It's a tragic story of theft, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Just know it. So, Ant, you want to go for it?
Sure. So, I've run the London Marathon.
Ooh.
Jumped out of a plane.
Ooh.
I once sat next to Alistair McGowan on the tube.
Who's Alistair McGowan?
Who's Alistair McGowan?
To be fair, same question.
He used to be a
Uncultured
very popular
swine.
comedian who did something called Alistair McGowan's Big Impression, and he was quite a famous stand-up comic on the BBC.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh.
You probably know some of his characters, maybe more than him, I guess.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that one's true, because you wouldn't make up a person that I don't know. So,
That's the one I'm going for a truth. Yeah, so, and what were the other two?
That I've run the London Marathon,
Right,
that I've
London
jumped out of an
Marathon.
airplane.
Jumped out of a plane.
I don't think you've run the London Marathon.
I'm going to go with jumped out of a plane as the lie.
Yeah, you were military, weren't you? That's what you said.
Yeah.
You were in the military. But I'm thinking that's a little red herring, because not everyone in the military has jumped out of a plane, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I'm just going for that on that basis.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say the plane one.
I can just imagine you like jumping out of a plane and
out.
like getting into like a battle scene that way. I don't know much about the military.
I did not fight in the Second World War. So. Also,
Right.
did not run the London Marathon.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't think I've got a single one right.
I'm
I'm
2
not
for
very good
2
at this.
so
Guys.
far.
I definitely didn't get that right, so I've only got
But I
one.
have jumped.
Really well.
You jumped out of a
I
plane.
feel
Was that
like
part
I'm
of the
a good
military?
judge of character.
No, I just did it as a
Just for a laugh?
on the weekend. I think, yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that was pretty good. So have you run a marathon? Was it like a
Oh,
half?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
you say that like everybody has.
I used to run an ultra marathon a month.
Oh, that sounds tiring just hearing about
What's
it.
an ultra marathon?
Anything over a marathon. Mine were about 36 to 38 miles.
This one time I walked a mile. No, I'm joking.
Wait, I've never even done that. No.
This segues quite nicely onto my two truths and one lie. So
Alright.
mine are that I once completed a half marathon for charity.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I have a unicorn tattoo,
Oh.
and I've never watched a James Bond film all the way through.
I can imagine that the James Bond one would be a truth, because some of them are really dated now and quite hard to get through.
That's interesting. The Bond one, like you said, it's believable, but it could be like you might love James Bond and it might be ludicrous to think you never sat through one.
You might really have like a 007 tattooed somewhere, not a unicorn.
That's true.
Yeah, if I turn the camera this way, you can just see James Bond everywhere, really.
Daniel Craig is actually in the room.
The half marathon one is true because you said it was for charity, and you wouldn't lie about charity.
That's true. That makes you a bad person.
I'm gonna go for the unicorn as a lie.
Yeah, I think the Bond one's. That would be a really clever lie if it was a lie. But I think the unicorn one is a lie.
I will go for the Bond films.
Ooh.
So the unicorn one is the lie. I used the word completed a half marathon very, very precisely because I didn't run. I walked a half marathon.
That's fine.
So I was saying to the half. In coming up with this list, I now want a unicorn tattoo. So that may at some point in the future no longer be a lie.
Well, there you go. Then you come back like version 2. Which one's still true and which one's still a lie? I kind of can't believe you've never watched a James Bond film because there's 25 of them, I think.
I've seen bits of them, but I've never got all the way through one. It's just not my type of film.
I mean, fair
I can understand that.
Though that is a one I use all the time for Never Have I Ever. So Never Have I Ever watched James Bond film all the way through. Usually works quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
So our main topic for today is anxiety, which is a lovely topic to start with.
Yeah, I think it's something that most people have felt.
Yeah.
I've got a quick read up here from the NHS if you want me to go through that first, just in case people aren't familiar.
Sounds top. That sounds good.
So, according to the NHS, anxiety is a feeling of unease, such as worry or fear, and it can be mild or really severe. Most people feel anxious at some stage of their life, whether it's a job interview or it can be something really intense, such as trying to leave your house. Some people find it harder to control it more than others, and it can end up affecting their daily lives. It's also a symptom that pops up under lots of different conditions, such as panic disorders, phobias, PTSD, social anxieties, IBS, and the list literally goes on and on and on. It can show up psychologically, such as panic attacks, or physically, such as dizziness, sweating. And obviously, if it is taking over your life and you are worried, you can get help from your GP. So I don't know if anyone's got anything more to add to that.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight really is sort of a natural human emotion. Being anxious isn't necessarily a problem, but it's a problem when it starts to affect your life. So like you said, probably everyone will feel anxiety at some point in their lifetime, but it's a problem when it becomes chronic and it affects your life. So I think that's really the type of anxiety we want to focus on today.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well put. I think that's exactly it. Everybody in this conversation will have had some form of anxiety because you that's natural, isn't it? It's when it affects like you said, your day-to-day life, then it becomes a problem. And I don't even know if everyone realizes necessarily that they're having a problem with it. I think it's one of those things that it might not be the main thing in inverted commas, that you have, but you will have experienced anxiety at some point.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
And ironically enough, I was quite anxious about recording this first podcast.
Yeah,
so...
same.
Yeah.
Same. You know, sitting and talking to three people never met before is a little bit anxiety driven.
Yeah. So
We used
sorry, Anne. Yeah.
we used to have a thing in the army saying about a bit of anxiety is good for you. You know, it's good,
Really?
a little bit scared in some situations because it keeps you focused and attentive on things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
It's
100%.
when it starts to overwhelm you. Obviously, that's not too much. You can't have too much of a good thing.
Yeah. No,
It's
there was
good. So if you especially if you've got a bit of an awareness that okay, like I said, I jumping out of a plane situation. First time I jumped out of a plane, I was like, blimey, because it was happening.
Yeah.
I wasn't not jumping; it was gonna happen. And then
But
the door opens, and then it's just this massive wave of. I was expecting lots of wind. I wasn't expecting so much noise.
yeah.
Suddenly, I was drowned in noise, and then I was like looking at the kind of the ceiling. Well, I don't know what it is. Of the fuselage of the plane, and then it was like a cloud, and then underneath the plane, and then a cloud, and the plane was like a mile away, and then I was just
Really?
parachuting, and it was great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was just a sudden. It's almost a good analogy for it. How it can go sometimes is in you can feel it coming on, and it's getting closer, and I was edging toward the door, and then it was just like a manic. Well, what 20 seconds falling at well over 100 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and suddenly I'm just parachute opens, canopy's fine, and I can just glide and control it. And if I want to go this way, I want to go that way. As long as the wind's on my side, I can just go.
That's a really yeah.
I really like the phrase there, the first time I jumped out of a plane, as if that's like a normal thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all went, yeah, the first
It
time.
made me have a little bit of a giggle.
First time. How many times have you jumped out of the plane? If you remember.
Just the once.
Oh, just the once. Is that it?
Just the once, but it means I'm going to do it again.
Oh, fair enough. You made it sound like the 13th time was my
Was
best.
just a breeze. I just stepped out, no anxiety.
I think if
Go on,
sorry,
mate.
if you as a human being were in a plane and you were gonna plummet thousands of feet, parachute or no, if you were not scared, if you were not anxious, that would be very, very strange.
Yeah, I don't think you're a human being at that stage.
I I think that would be very unusual. I think, like you said, there is some level of what is normal, and like in the army, like a bit of anxiety is good. I once had hypnotherapy actually, because I was deathly afraid of dogs, and when I was doing this hypnotherapy, the therapist was like, "How do you feel about dogs out of 10? How scared are you?" And then I was like a 10 or whatever, and she's like, "I want you to reduce that to a 4, because if you're not at least a bit afraid of dogs, you'll fall foul of it at some point in your life. Like there's a reason to be, if you were never afraid of of spiders and you went to Australia and you got bitten because you just didn't have any anxiety about it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you need just a little bit of awareness, like you said, you need to be alert, you need to be aware. If you were not at all anxious about something that actually potentially could be a problem, that would be a difficulty. But we're talking about things that shouldn't scare you that are scaring you, or things that are scaring you so much you are kind of almost crippled by it.
Yeah.
It's like links to sort of the fight or flight response that we all get, and it's when that fight or flight response doesn't work quite as it should, and it doesn't turn off when it should, and it sort of prolongs it. But with a little bit of anxiety being good, I definitely agree with that, because I think I write some of my best uni work when I'm close to a deadline. So
Yeah, because then you're getting a little bit nervous about not finishing, and the anxiety start going high, and yeah. Has anybody ever struggled with anxiety really badly and want to share it?
Oh, I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit, like, I have horrendously bad anxiety, and then I'm absolutely fine. Like, it comes and goes. And I say once, sort of, I think it was like 3 months ago, my cousin got married, and I had to get a wedding suit, and I knew what suit I wanted, I knew what I was doing, and I went to the shop with my mum and my sister, or whatever, And I went in the shop and I walked out of the shop. And I went in the shop and I walked out of the shop. I went in the shop, I looked around, the person came to talk to me, I walked out the shop. Like, my mum went to the person, she said, oh, my, he's a bit anxious, he knows what he wants, he wants to get a suit, whatever. And I had to, like, fight my way back into the shop, and then I had to take 5 minutes to try on the suit and stuff like that. And I couldn't believe it while I was there. I was feeling it. I was thinking, why am I doing this? But every single time it came to happen, I was like, I've got to go again. Like, it was like you said, that fight or flight sort of thing. I just thought, I've got to get out of it. I can't be here. I can't do this anymore. And I wish I could say that was the only time I ever felt like that. But like, that's one of those things where until it happens, you almost feel like that's ludicrous. Why on earth could you not go into the shop? But I just was like, no, I got to get out of here.
No, I completely get that. I've had anxiety for quite a long time. It's been part of my sort of mental health problems since I was about 12. So I'm quite used to it, and it's sort of learning how to be on top of it and knowing today's not a great day. I probably shouldn't put myself in a position that make me anxious today, or today's a fine day. I can go out into that crowd or go to the shop and talk to someone. That's fine. Whereas on other days, I wouldn't put myself through that because I know I'm going to get anxious. So I'd sort of plan my days around how I'm feeling to not make myself feel worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago I had really, really bad anxiety, and it was when I was still at uni. I was doing my masters at the time. And we were all going out for a Christmas meal on the last day before the Christmas holidays. And for a few days before, I just felt really, really unwell, and like I was really dizzy all the time. I felt really sick, and I was actually like throwing up quite a lot of the time. But I was still trying to go to uni and get, through the last couple of days.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were going out for this Christmas meal, and I literally had to leave about half an hour in because I just couldn't cope anymore. We were in this really busy place. I was surrounded by all these people who I knew really well, and I'd, been with them every day for the past few months, and I just couldn't sit there anymore. I literally had that feeling of I had to run away and just go home.
Yeah.
And pretty much all the way home, I just sat crying because I was like, this is so ridiculous that I feel like I can't even, sit down and eat some food with my friends. And then my anxiety just literally carried on. And then I ended up, eventually it just led to me just leaving university and I just didn't go back, essentially.
Yeah.
And that was probably the worst time I've ever suffered with anxiety.
No, that doesn't sound fun at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could definitely understand that, because even when my anxiety is fine, I am quite introverted, so social situations can be quite tiring as it is. And when I've been feeling not great with my mental health before now, I have cancelled on social events and just told people I'm not well. And I think people assume from that I've got a cold or a cough or something. But what I really mean is I'm not mentally well enough to go out into that club or whatever today. I just need to stay in my house and just recover myself.
I get that.
Yeah.
Even though it's completely ridiculous and you can't even pinpoint why you're feeling like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that. Have you kind of experienced anxiety sort of on a big scale, Anne? Is that something that you've?
I suppose. I mean, we've all had irrational anxieties. I suppose to get
Yeah.
you do sometimes almost like wake up on the wrong side of bed syndrome, don't you? And you're just going to have a bad day, and then you almost have. I think so much of anxiety is linked to control, and it's when you feel you're not in control of a situation, and then you totally are. And if you want to blow off some social plans with someone, it's in your control to do that.
Yeah.
And you kind of felt, perhaps maybe that you have to go to university and you have to do this masters, when in reality you don't. And it was in your control, and you took that controlling step to come away again. And I think that's what it is. And I think that's maybe a way to kind of reset yourself when you say, you know what, actually, I didn't want to jump out the door of that plane, so I just sat down. The plane still landed.
Yeah.
I'm still here to tell you the story about it. And in the moment, you'll kind of see red, and we kind of go, oh no, it's all the worst. It's the worst thing that's ever happened. And in reality, it's you didn't walk into a shop to buy a suit.
Yeah, exactly.
World keeps spinning.
I think that brings us really nicely into sort of how can we prevent sort of anxiety from affecting us? Because I think you've hit the nail on the head with like what the core of it is. In a way, it's sort of a control thing. I mean, it's not necessarily for everybody, and some things, some things like if you've got obsessive compulsive disorder, like I do, and sometimes the anxieties are there's a genuine cause. It's what the trigger is, and it might not be a control thing. It might be, but at the end of the day, you take control of it. You can sort of master it. That's a really easy way of saying something that feels impossible. Like you can't.
It does feel impossible at the time.
Yeah.
But I think once you start getting going with stuff, it's so much easier. Like, I've been really anxious about recording this podcast for months since I started planning it with a few of the others, and then, got you guys involved with it. But now, I've gone and done it, and it's fine. It's not scary. And I think it's how I, prevent anxiety is just by trying to do things. Just trying to get on with it, which sounds ridiculous and so hard, especially if you're in that fixed mindset where you just can't sort of get over it and do it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think I always say this because a lot of people post in the group, and I always try and reply to everybody if I can, and sort of be like, here's a bit of advice, so I'm really sorry and stuff like that. And I hate it myself. I like put my hand up and say I hate it, but it's like the phrase "this too shall pass." It comes out of my mouth. I type it all the time. I'm like, guys, don't worry. And when you're in that situation, you do not feel like that sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it can become insurmountable.
Yeah.
But it will pass. It will get better. Like you said, Ant, the world will keep spinning. If the worst thing that happened today is that Abi dropped out of uni, then the world will go on. If the worst thing that happened is that I didn't buy a suit, the world goes on. It doesn't matter.
I mean, you might have nothing to wear to the wedding, but
exactly. I got my in my underpants, but at least I'm alive. You know what I mean? I hate that sort of mentality. I hate saying it, but I 100% know it's right.
Yeah, and another thing to say, like what I mentioned earlier, is a good thing to do is know yourself and monitor yourself so it doesn't get too bad. So knowing your own comfort limits and knowing when you're having a good day and you can go out and conquer the world, know when you're not having such a good day and you might not want to push it because you don't want it to get so bad that you start having the panic attacks, the hyperventilating, the chest pains and things like that. So just knowing yourself, and like the same way if I had a sore ankle, I know I don't want to run on it. So if I've got a bad anxiety day, I might not want to make it worse, might not want to push my anxiety that day.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a really good plan.
Another thing I want to point out that people might not think about. So my two main problems are depression and anxiety. And for ages I was like, why when my depression is better, is my anxiety worse? And what I've realised is when my depression is better is when I'm medicated. And one of the side effects of the medication I take for depression is anxiety. So actually, when I'm medicated for depression, it makes my anxiety worse and I have to monitor my anxiety more. So if someone finds that their anxiety suddenly increases, consider what medication they might have on. If they had a recent change, it might be something worth talking to your GP about. This medication, as I started it, I've had an increase in anxiety. Is there something else we can try? Because this is making it worse in this way. So if you had a change in medication and even if it's not for mental health, a different medication, maybe consider, is the medication something that's making my anxiety worse? Do I need to talk to my doctor about this?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah,
I think
a good way to deal with anxieties, well, maybe advice to give is scheduling. Schedule your days and your activities, but be realistic. Yeah. Some people struggle maybe with crowds and things like shopping can be a problem. So if you need to go to the supermarket because you need to get food and water, and you say, right, I'm going to give myself an hour, that's enough time for me to drive, park in the car park, do a lap of the supermarket, pay for it, and drive home. Yeah. But say, you're giving yourself those 60 minutes, but then be realistic. What if there's traffic? What if it's busy and there's a long queue at the till? What if there's no parking? You have to do a lap to find somewhere. And I think once you start almost accepting these are just facts of life, they start to become kind of non-issues. Yeah. If you hit all three of those things, like it's traffic and it's busy and there's queues, Okay, maybe it's
You're
just
screwed.
maybe schedule next time to go to a different day or a different time.
Yeah.
But
24-hour supermarkets are great for that because you can go shopping at all strange times.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
100%.
Sorry,
Oh,
anxiety and sleep.
Oh, yeah, yeah. If my anxiety levels are really high, I get next to no sleep.
My other half doesn't believe me, but when he's not around, I sometimes have trouble sleeping. But when he's there, he sort of like calms me, and it makes my anxiety go down. So he's never seen me have trouble sleeping because when he's around, I sleep fine. So he doesn't believe that I have trouble sleeping when he's not there sometimes.
yeah, yeah. I think I just wanted to go back to something you said, Anne, about, and I've just forgotten exactly what I was going to say. So that's well done. Well done, me. Oh yeah, what something you said earlier was that sort of kind of accepting that those are normal things, like those are things that are going to happen and they'll become easier. That actually the whole topic of anxiety, the whole thing that we're doing here is we're saying, it's all right, guys. It's genuinely very normal, and also, especially I think being able to say, I don't think it's something that as men it's almost becoming more acceptable. It's not that acceptable to say, actually, I'm very scared right now. I'm very anxious right now. And being able to say that, because you said it is like if you had a sprained ankle, you say, oh, sorry, my ankle's sprained. There's nothing wrong with saying, actually, I'm just really anxious, or actually, I'm feeling this way. So I was talking about normalizing it, making it so that you don't feel ashamed. I think that's something that's important as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I found it especially, in the army, which is such a masculine environment,
Oh yeah.
and that anyone who did visit what's called the Department of Community Mental Health, or DCMH, would almost treat it like an injury, in the
Yeah.
same way that to maybe a broken a limb or got a bad sprain, say like, oh no, it's like it works, but I still have to go to physio for the next 6 months, kind of,
Yeah.
once a week. And that's was treating DCMH in the same way.
Yeah.
I think of all things within the UK, I mean, and I think for men particularly, the armed forces were the leading wave for men's mental health.
Yeah.
Just the purely by numbers, so just more men in that job are getting exposed to more things. But so many times people thought it was things about Afghanistan and Iraq, when in reality it was because guys were spending so much time away and their marriage would break down, and then maybe their wife would leave and their kids would go away,
Yeah.
or they were working too many hours. And reality, these are problems that everyone can face, regardless of what job role. If you have to work 70 hours a week, yeah, that's going to take a stressful toll on you, kind of physically, and it's going to chip away at you mentally. And then if you end up getting divorced or your house burns down, yeah, these are, it all comes about.
Yeah,
And
I think that's really nice that actually the army did treat, mental health in that way, because I don't know about everybody else, but I worked in a job in a well-known retail store when I was going through that really anxious period, and they just treated me like I was nothing to them. They told me that if I had a day off, I'd be sacked, and that there was no support. So they'd make me go into work, stick me on a till, and I'd end up having panic attack after panic attack because there was no care for mental well-being and health there.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that needs to sort of change throughout the UK and throughout the world, that mental health and physical health should be treated exactly the same. So, and it should be identified the same, because I think about my mental health as I have chronic mental health problems, so it's something I'm gonna have to live with and deal with throughout my life. Same thing if I had a chronic physical health problem, and it doesn't have to define me. So someone who's diabetic isn't defined by the diabetes, so I don't need to be defined by my anxiety and depression, but I do need support in the same way that I would be doing if I was diabetic.
Agree. That's 100%. I think that's it. And I think, like I said, the way that you start that is you start having conversations. You open a dialogue, and obviously we're doing that with our whole group. That's what I love about it, the UoK group. People will say, you know what, I'm really struggling today, and being able to sort of normalize that. That's like the first step. Being able to say, actually, put my hand up. This is how I feel. That's definitely, I think, the first step towards getting everybody together to get things.
Yeah.
The amount of men as well that are posting in the group always you know, it's so nice that, especially, you know, like you're saying, that men find it really difficult in our current climate to actually come out and say that they're not feeling mentally well. So the amount of guys that are actually posting on the group and putting their feelings out on the line is just, you know, amazing to me.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think it's an approach as well that men need to, and women need to take, is when you can recognize it in other people who may not know or maybe masking it. You know, people mask things to like drinking as a popular one, or, you know, being mega social, being very antisocial, and you can see these sudden changes in behavior, and it is kind of almost sticking your neck out there just to say to them, you know, I don't think you're all right.
Yeah.
I think it might be better for you, even just to Google it and just to see if any of these things resonate with you.
Yeah.
Some people can be quite hostile toward you if you say it, but some, you know, even 1 out of 10 who said, "Oh, actually, thanks for saying that."
And even just asking if someone's okay sometimes can make a difference, because you ask someone, "Are you okay?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm fine." I go, "No, actually, are you okay? Do you need to talk about anything, or do you need any help with anything?" Because they'll give that answer and say, "Oh yeah, I'm fine," because everyone says they're fine. But actually know that someone's like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" Can really get someone to talk about it and get the ball rolling with them, and they're not internalizing it. So if you ever see anyone you know acting a bit unusual and you're worried, just genuinely ask, sit down and say, "Are you okay? Just, you don't seem quite yourself. Are you really okay?"
Yeah, I think the first step is, like you said, sort of reaching out, which, as much as I'm enjoying this conversation, I think it's time to segue very nicely into our next sort of section, which is somebody reaching out to us in our community question.
I feel like they should have a jingle, but I'm not the best person to make a jingle.
Community question.
No.
Yeah.
Community question.
So, just to double check with you, Abby, is this person okay with us saying who they are? Is that all right?
Yes.
That's fine.
They posted on the thread, so I assume so.
I assume so. Well, I'm very sorry if you're not comfortable, but this is a question from Helen Moore. What are some tips or ideas for self-care when you're having a bad day? Which I think is a great question. Well, I will start. What I like to do is I like to, well, we're all RT fans. I just like to find one of my favorite videos, or any video, new video, whatever, and I kind of sit and I watch it. Or I've got a dog and I go out for a walk with my dog because I have to do that almost. That sounds like a silly thing, but if she doesn't get walked, then, it's not fair. So that kind of gets me out. But I actually have a thing I've started doing recently. I think it's kind of funny, a little bit embarrassing. But I've had a bit of a tough time at work and I'm having a bad day and I feel like this sort of, oh, it's coming on. I'm a bit nervous. I've started to, in my head, recite the rap, the Rooster Teeth Achievement Hunter Throwdown.
Oh yeah.
I know it sounds really daft, but if I'm going into a meeting at work and I'm thinking I'm gonna freak out, and I'm there in my head, I'm going, right, what's Gavin's bit again? And then I know it sounds silly, but sometimes just having a little thing that you like a little routine thing you can kind of go back to. It's like a grounding thing. I wouldn't necessarily recommend the Rooster Teeth rap because it's a bit wordy, and if you end up singing it out loud, you're probably gonna get some people quite annoyed with you. But do something that maybe grounds you, or a sort of a little thing or a song that you really enjoy. Just sort of ground yourself. I think that's something that I do. It doesn't necessarily work for everyone. I wouldn't say that, finding a song, the last thing you want to do necessarily is ruin your favorite song because you associate it with being anxious. But sometimes just having something you can sit and listen to is quite a nice thing, be it the Achievement Hunter Throwdown or not. Yeah. So who wants to go next?
Yeah, so like you say, like that stuff's really good, and grounding yourself. I do the sort of old technique of counting down from like 10 and taking really long deep breaths. You can also do I don't know if anyone's heard of it, where you can like trace the outlines of your fingers while you're counting down from 10. So when you reach the top of your finger, you breathe in, and when you reach the bottom, you breathe out. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Is everyone else doing that now, or is that just me?
Yeah, I find that that's quite helpful to sort of bring yourself down and help get you a little bit more regulated. But so I sometimes do that if I'm feeling really anxious and really rubbish. But again, I've got quite a few animals, so I spend a lot of time with them. Take the dogs a walk. I feel like just being outside and feeling that, you know, wind on yourself makes me feel a lot better. And then I top it all off with like a nice long bath with lots of bubbles, a nice bath bomb. Most of the time, I'm feeling a lot better about my bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Okay, I would say if you're needing that kind of self-care time and a bit of, and it is care, not self-improvement time, just a bit of looking after yourself, I would say avoid doing anything competitive. A lot of people play video games. That's kind of how a lot of people came into the community. And I'd said maybe avoid something online where you can lose. You
Yeah.
kind of don't want to get into a mindset of I've lost and I've lost and I keep dying and then it's kind of getting all bad. Just, you know, give yourself something that you're very confident with and that kind of relaxes you, that's not overstimulating.
Mm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
okay to just have a low and lazy day, but definitely, you know, I'll concur what the two of you said before. Get outside, just
Yeah.
get some shoes on, get out your front door and close it behind you. Because once you're out, you're out. You know,
Yeah.
getting through the front door is the hardest part. Once you're outside, you're okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like
You've
that.
literally crossed the threshold.
I think that's cool. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to put out was recognizing you're having a bad day is the first step. So being in tune with yourself and knowing I'm having a bad day is actually a really good thing, because if you know you're having a bad day, you can do something about it. So recognize you have a bad day, and I talk about it then. So I tell the people that are closest to me I'm not having a great day, just so that they're aware if I say anything that's a bit funny, that they know I'm just having a bad day. Nothing's wrong, just a bad day. I'm just struggling a bit today. Then do something that makes you happy. So that'll be different for everyone. The 3 suggestions I've got are cooking. So cook something you want to eat. So whether that's something nice and healthy, or you want to bake a cake and eat a cake, that's fine. Just do something that makes you happy. I really like cooking. Like you guys have all talked about, walking in nature, going out, looking at trees and grass, and remembering how beautiful the world is. And then another thing I've got is painting my nails. That really can de-stress me, and then it makes me feel a bit better about myself as well, because my nails look pretty then. So painting my nails is a good bit of self-care that I do.
Yeah.
And another thing I have is watch something that makes you laugh, because there are videos that no matter what bad day you're in, will always make you laugh. So I like the sort of achievement hunter compilations that you can find on YouTube, because that'll just be like laugh after laugh after laugh after laugh at the idiots. So
Yeah.
stuff like that can really, like, if I'm having a bad day or I'm trending down in my mood, just pick me up and get me going again.
I think that's awesome advice. I think that's all been really cool advice, and I like that we all have something similar but also different, because obviously we ourselves, we all have different needs and different wants. So I hope, Helen, that has helped answer your question. And I think next time we do a podcast, we're going to have another community question, so we'll probably post out again. And if you've got something, please send it to us, because we love to kind of help and answer people's questions. So I think that's something we'd all want to do more of. So
Definitely, yeah.
we'd love to do that. That brings us sort of nicely to our very last sort of topic. We've called it mindfulness, and we just want to talk about something that helps us. So Abby, do you want to start?
So I like to use relaxation noise apps as a nice little method to sort of relax me and bring me down. So there's a really good one called Relax Melodies that I found. It's on the Apple App Store. So it's a free app. So really accessible to most people. If you've got an iPhone, whack it on there. You can make your own mixes of sounds, and you can play it for 5 minutes, or you can play it for 6 hours. So you can literally mix whatever helps you relax. So like river, rain, piano, or you can have like fire noises or thunderstorms, bug sounds. There's so many sounds on there that you can just mix up together and make your own. Or I recently just purchased a mindful journal from the shop UoK's.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally £3.50. And I like to spend a couple of minutes a day. I've been using it for the last week or so. And it's got like different sections to fill out, such as your overall mood, what you're grateful for, the 3 best things what happened in your day. And for me, that just helps me go back over my day, pick out the really good things. So if you've had, pretty rubbish day, you can go back and choose the the good bits, and remember those and reflect over them.
I think that sounds awesome. I like the sound of both of them. I literally immediately thought, right, when can I go to Wilco's? Because that just sounded good. Useful, it just sounded. And I use most nights like a sleep sound. I kind of like the white noise sort of fans, heaters. That's how I get.
They don't do it for me, those ones.
It's funny, isn't it? What works for different people.
Yeah.
I
quite like jungles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like making it like I'm asleep in a rainforest.
I like to be like, am I in a spaceship now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the opposite. Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to add?
See, I really can't sleep in silence. So with these sort of sleep things, I always have something in the background. So whether it's a YouTube video or something, or I have the Headspace app, and they have sort of mindfulness meditating things to go through, help you relax. I use Headspace more when I'm quite anxious, whereas if I'm having a good day, I'll just put a YouTube video on and fall asleep with that. Yeah. But yeah, what I think we want this to be like a weekly mindfulness workout for everyone. So if everyone that listens to this picks one of our ideas and just has a go at it, and then hopefully we can build on it every week and get everyone just practicing a bit of mindfulness and working on the mental health the same way you would work out your physical health.
Yeah, I really like that. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Ant?
Gosh, no, I think we all kind of covered it. If everyone likes to maybe listen to something while they fall asleep, we have it's like for children, I guess, a light projector that puts stars up on the ceiling and spins.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
You can have different colors, and it's like red or red and blue, or red, blue and green, or just all the individual ones. And you can set it to a timer as well. So we can only have like cool. 20 minutes, and then when it gets to 1, then just turns itself off. So it doesn't, people, well, obviously have different living circumstances. If you're doing your electric off the meter or something, you obviously don't want it on all night.
Yeah, no, I think that's I think that's really good. I think
I generally don't like a lot of noise when I'm trying to sleep.
No, and everyone's different, aren't they? That's
as much as the soldier in me can sleep anywhere at any time. I'm still a lot comfier in my own bed, first of all, and then with a bit of light on for whatever reason, but then quiet.
See, I never thought I could sleep with noise on until I went to university, and I ended up living in the party halls. And I am not a partier. I am asleep at like 9 o'clock sort of person. This is late for me since we're recording. It's now 10 o'clock. But yeah, so I would literally stick my headphones in and put my sleep app on full and try and just block out all the parties that were going off around me.
I'm just generally not a fan of silence in life, so I think I don't want my brain to think too much. It's put my anxiety. If I leave my brain alone, it'll start going at 100 miles per hour. So I always have something going on in noise-wise. So
right, well, I'm hopeful that anybody who's listening or everybody here in this conversation can use something that we sort of discussed today to sort of help a little bit, or just try it out. It might not work, but you don't know until you try it, do you? And hopefully that's something that over time will become useful for us and for people listening. I would like, if possible, to challenge anybody who's listening, because we've talked about it a lot this podcast, to sort of maybe just take one walk. By the time we have another podcast, I want everyone to have done at least a walk out somewhere. It can be like a park, but I think it would be really cool if everybody listening just took the time to go to the woods or go to the park or something.
I would love to see the results as well. Like if everybody posted like a picture on the UoK Facebook group, that'd be great.
That'd be a lovely depressing look into our listening count when one person posts.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, oh, thanks, fan. But no, that's it.
Also,
Sorry, carry on, Hannah.
I was going to say, also, if there's people who listen to this and are like, well, why haven't they talked about this? They clearly missed this big thing. Just let us know. It might be something that the 4 of us don't use that actually we might take on board and be like, oh, someone suggested this, and actually this is really good for me now.
Yeah, exactly. And like we said in our disclaimer at the start, we are not professionals. This is just our opinions based on our experiences. We can be wrong, and please feel free to correct us or send us your opinions, because we don't want to be misinforming, and we don't want to be upsetting and causing difficulties in anybody. I think I speak for everyone when I say that. Getting some nods. So yeah, I think that kind of nicely brings us to the end of our very first RT UoK podcast. So I should probably take the time to say thank you all for listening, all one of you, and for all of the people who've done the podcast. It's been really nice to do it.